Make sure you're following along in your book. We're reading from page 57 to 65. You're annotating and looking for all the parts of a genre-based thinking job. Later that evening, the boys and I sat at the study table in Mama and Papa's room, attempting to concentrate on our lessons. But none of us could succeed for more than a few minutes without letting out a triumphant giggle. More than once, Mama scolded us, telling us to get down to business. Each time she did, we set our faces into looks of great seriousness, resolved that we would be adult about the matter and not gloat in our hour of victory. Yet just one glance at each other and we were lost, slumping on the table in helpless, contagious laughter. "All right," Mama said finally. "I don't know what's going on here, but I suppose I'd better do something about it or you'll never get any work done." It occurred to us that Mama might be preparing to whip us, and we shot each other warning glances. But even that thought couldn't dampen our laughter, now uncontrollable, welling up from the pits of our stomachs and forcing streams of laughter tears down our faces. Stacy, holding his sides, turned to the wall in an attempt to bring himself under control. Little Man put his head under the table, but Christopher John and I just doubled up and fell upon the floor. Mama took my arm and pulled me up. "Over here, Cassie," she said, directing me to a chair next to the fireplace and behind Big Ma, who was ironing our clothes for the next day. I peeped around Big Ma's long skirt and saw Mama guiding Stacy to her own desk. Then back she went for Little Man, and picking him up bodily, she set him in the chair beside her rocker. Christopher John she left alone at the study table. Then she gathered all our study materials and brought them to us, along with a look that said she would tolerate no more of this foolishness. With Big Ma before me, I could see nothing else, and I grew serious enough to complete my arithmetic assignment. When that was finished, I lingered before opening my reader, watching Big Ma as she hung up my iron dress, then placed her heavy iron on a small pile of embers burning in a corner of the fireplace, and picked up a second iron already warming there. She tested the iron with a tap of her finger and put it back again. While Big Ma waited for the iron to get hot, I could see Mama bending over outspread newspaper scrapings, the dried mud off the old field shoes of Papa's, which she wore daily, stuffed with wads of newspaper over her own shoes, to protect them from the mud and rain. Little Man beside her was deep into his first-grade reader, his eyebrows furrowed in concentration. Ever since Mama had brought the reader home, with the offensive inside cover no longer visible, Little Man had accepted the book as a necessary tool for passing the first grade, but he took no pride in it. Looking up, he noticed that Big Ma was now preparing to iron his clothes, and he smiled happily. Then his eyes met mine, and silent laughter creased his face. I muffled a giggle, and Mama looked up. "Cassie, you start up again, and I'm sending you to the kitchen to study," she warned. "Yes'm," I said, settling back in my chair and beginning to read. I certainly did not want to go to the kitchen. Now that the fire no longer burned in the stove, it was cold in there. The room grew quiet again, except for the earthy humming of Big Ma's rich alto voice, the crackle of the hickory fire, and the patter of rain on the roof. Engrossed in a mystery, I was startled when the comfortable sounds were shattered by 3 rapid knocks on the side door. Rising quickly, Mama went to the door and called, "Who is it?" "It's me, ma'am," came a man's gravelly voice. "Joe Avery." Mama opened the door, and Mr. Avery stepped dripping into the room. "Why, Brother Avery," Mama said, "what are you doing out on a night like this? Come on in. Take off your coat and sit by the fire. Stacy, get Mr. Avery a chair. Remember, this is TJ's dad." "No'm," said Mr. Avery, looking rather nervous over his shoulder into the night. "I ain't got but a minute." He stepped far enough into the room so that he could close the door, then nodded to the rest of us. "Evening, Miss Caroline. How are you tonight?" "Oh, I'll do, I reckon," said Big Ma, still ironing. "How's Miss Fanny?" "She's fine," he said, without dwelling on his wife. "Miss Logan, I come to tell you something important. Mr. Morrison here?" Mama stiffened. "David? You heard something about David?" "Oh, no'm," replied Mr. Avery hastily. "Ain't heard nothing about your husband, ma'am." Mama regarded him quizzically. It's them again. They's riding tonight." Mama, her face pale and frightened, glanced back at Big Ma. Big Ma held her iron in midair. Children," Mama said, "I think it's your bedtime." "But, Mama," we chorused in protest, wanting to stay and hear who was riding. "Hush," Mama said sternly. "I said it was time to go to bed. Now go." groaning loudly enough to voice our displeasure, but not loudly enough to arouse Mama's anger. We stacked our books upon the study table and started toward the boys' room. "Cassie, I said go to bed. That's not your room." "But, Mama, it's cold in there," I pouted. Usually we were allowed to build small fires in the other rooms an hour before bedtime to warm up. "You'll be warm once you're under the covers. Stacy, take the flashlight with you and light the lantern in your room. Cassie, take the lamp from the desk with you." I went back and got the kerosene lamp, then entered my bedroom, leaving the door slightly ajar. "Close that door, Cassie." Immediately, the door was closed. I put the lamp on the dresser, then silently slid the latch off the outside door and slipped onto the wet front porch. I crossed to the boys' room. Tapping lightly, I whispered, "Hey, let me in." The door creaked open and I darted in. The room was bathed in darkness. "What'd they say?" I asked. "Shh," came the answer. I crept to the door leading into Mama's room and huddled beside the boys. The rain softened upon the roof and we could hear Mama asking, "But why? Why are they riding? What happened?" "I don't rightly know," said Mr. Avery, "but y'all knows how they is. Anytime they thinks we steppin' out of our place, they feels like they gotta stop us. You know what some of 'em done to the berries." He paused, then went on bitterly. "It don't take but a little nothin' to set them devilish night men off." "But something must have happened," Big Ma said. "How you know about it?" "All's I can tell you, Miss Caroline, is what Fanny heard when she was leavin' the Grangers this evenin'. She'd just finished cleanin' up the supper dishes when Mr. Granger come home with Mr. Grimes, you know, that white school's bus driver, and two other men's." A clap of deafening thunder drowned Mr. Avery's words, then the rain quickened and the conversation was lost. I grabbed Stacy's arm. "Stacy, they're coming after us." "What?" squeaked Christopher John. "Hush," Stacy said harshly, "and Cassie, let go, that hurts." "Stacy, somebody must have seen and told on us," I persisted. "No," Stacy replied, unconvincingly. "It couldn't be." "Couldn't be?" cried Christopher John in a panic. "What do you mean it couldn't be?" "Stacy," said Little Man excitedly, "what do you think they're going to do to us? Burn us up?" "Nothing," Stacy exclaimed, standing up suddenly. "Now why don't y'all go to bed like y'all supposed to?" We were stunned by his attitude. He sounded like Mama, and I told him so. He collapsed in silence by the door, breathing hard, and although I could not see him, I knew that his face was drawn and that his eyes had taken on a haggard look. I touched his arm lightly. "Ain't no call to go blamin' yourself," I said. "We all done it." "But I got us into it," he said listlessly. "But we all wanted to do it," I comforted. "Not me," denied Christopher John. "All I wanted to do was eat my lunch." "Shh," hissed Little Man. "I can hear him again." "I'd better go tell Mr. Morrison," Mr. Avery was saying. "He out back?" "I'll tell him," said Mama. We could hear the side door open and we scrambled up. "Cassie, get back to your room quick," Stacy whispered. "They'll probably come check on us now." "But what'll we do?" "Nothing now, Cassie. Them men probably won't even come near." "You really believe that?" asked Christopher John hopefully. "But shouldn't we tell Mama?" I asked. "No! We can't ever tell nobody," declared Stacy adamantly. "Now go on, hurry." Footsteps neared the door. I dashed onto the porch and hastened back to my own room, where I jumped up the bed covers with my clothes still on. Shivering, I pulled the heavy patchwork quilt up to my chin. A few moments later, Big Ma came in, leaving the door to Mama's room open. Knowing that she would be suspicious of such an early surrender to sleep, I sighed softly, and making sleepy little sounds turned onto my stomach, careful not to expose my shirt sleeves. Obviously satisfied by my performance, Big Ma tucked the covers more closely around me and smoothed my hair gently. Then she stooped and started fishing for something under our bed. I opened my eyes. Now what the devil was she looking for down there? While she was searching, I heard Mama approaching and I closed my eyes again. "Mama?" "Stacy, what are you doing up?" "Let me help." "Help with what?" With whatever's the matter." Mama was silent a moment, then said softly, "Thank you, Stacy, but Big Ma and I can handle it." "But Papa told me to help you." "And you do, more than you know. But right now you could help me most by going back to bed. It's a school day tomorrow, remember?" "But Mama—" "If I need you, I'll call you, I promise." I heard Stacy walk slowly away, then Mama whispering in the doorway, "Cassie asleep?" Yeah, honey, Big Ma said. Go on and sit back down. I'll be out in a minute. Then Big Ma stood up and turned down the wick of the kerosene lamp. As she left the room, my eyes popped open again, and I saw her outlined in the doorway, a rifle in her hands. Then she closed the door, and I was left to darkness. For long minutes I waited, wide awake, wondering what my next move should be. Finally deciding that I should again consult with the boys, I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, but immediately had to swing them back again as Big Ma re-entered the room. She passed the bed and pulled a straight-backed chair up to the window. Parting the curtains so that the blackness of the night mixed with the blackness of the room, she sat down without a sound. I heard the door to the boys' room open and close, and I knew that Mama had gone in. I waited for the sound of the door opening again, but it did not come. Soon the chill of the cotton sheets beneath me began to fade, and as Big Ma's presence lulled me into a security I did not really feel, I fell asleep. All right, I want you to think of all the parts of the genre-based thinking job. Remember, your conflict is going to be most important to figure out, and then from that is going to come your resolution and theme. Come to office hours if you need help, or send me a text message.